fellowship meeting of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, 7:45, lest we forget. But unfortunately, I've injured my foot. I just fell over. And what do we do when we don't want something to be the way it is? We deny it. And I fell over, and I jumped up as if nothing had happened. And of course something had happened. So I have a sprained ankle, or worse. Anyway, the upshot of that is that I will have to go to A&E, Accident and Emergency, tomorrow morning for a checkup, just to make sure that I haven't broken a bone. So, not quite the evening I planned. And it really is irksome, but it reminds me of the old behaviour in my drinking days. So what are my videos all about? My videos are all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. So my old addictive substance, alcohol, my old addictive behaviour, workaholic, relationships, materialism, putting on a brave face, letting the ego run wild, or rather my ego covered up the fear inside me of not being good enough. And I suppose in that moment of madness, or whatever happened, where I jumped up to pretend that I was okay because I just didn't want to be in that situation, denial creeps in. So it's a warning sign for me that whether it's emotional, physical or spiritual sobriety I'm looking for, I can slip back into old ways at the drop of a hat, or in this case the drop of my body onto the pavement or sidewalk. So the gift for me today is to actually recognise that old behaviour in me can come back at any time. And why do I need a fellowship to keep me on track? Because if old behaviour around looking less than or covering up some sort of, I suppose, disability, then life gets difficult, and I'm not being truthful to myself or people around me, because people around me can't help me. So I've had lots of advice and support to go to get my foot checked out, which I will do. Even, I didn't want to go over the weekend because it's full of drunks who've had accidents, and I didn't really want to be a person in recovery amongst a group of people who were self-harming. I don't know, funny old world, isn't it? We are full of defects of character, as they say. Anyway, fellowship. These are what the videos are all about, and also my story as I progress in recovery, and it's one day at a time. So a return to old behaviour there, and I'm smiling at myself more than anything, and also know that a slip like that on a physical level is as dangerous as a slip in any other aspect of my life to do with my feelings, emotions or my spiritual well-being. So it's a timely reminder that fellowship keeps me sober, and to miss a meeting is probably the worst thing in my life, simply because it's one day long, and I love meetings and seeing people who are sober so that the rest of my life can work as well. So what is AA and why does it work for me? Well, I'll share the AA preamble or statement of intent and some readings from AA literature about what it's like to be in recovery, and what are these 12 steps of action that we take on a daily basis to help us make life work, or rather live life as it is. So the AA preamble goes like this. Fortunately my foot is not affecting my ability to do the video. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And you know, the key words in there for me are only requirement for membership a desire to stop drinking, so we can make the best of what is rather than wish it away or find oblivion because we just don't like what we're part of. And our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So I feel that it was a timely reminder that I fell over. My foot gave way. I think it's a weakness caused by another condition, type 1 diabetes and nerve damage, which I got in recovery, so blameless in that respect. But I know that behaviour of standing up quickly and wanting to be okay and not show weakness is something that I still need to work on. And during my working career, I never showed weakness, or tried not to, trying to be perfect. Never took a day off, never wanted, well, I did actually, I had to. I used to break things like bones through physical labour, or you name it. Sometimes I just had to stop. And then I had a nervous breakdown because I suffered from a nervous exhaustion, and I burned out. And having gone through those experiences, you would think that the silly fool would have actually, I used different words in the meeting last night, a bit more colourful, but the silly fool would have actually done something about it by now. But there you go, learning. I'm human. Daily Reflections, this book, it covers the 12 steps of action and the action program of AA for individuals, changing our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis, and also giving us timely reminders as reality hits us, as did the pavement. So for February the 28th, I only stepped over one too many there. Yeah, what no president, it says. No leaders in AA. Well, sort of there are. We're all leaders. When told that our society has no president having authority to govern it, no treasurer who can compel the payment of any dues, our friends gasp and exclaim, "This simply can't be." When I finally made my way to AA, I could not believe that there was no treasurer to compel the payment of dues. I could not imagine an organisation that didn't require monetary contributions in return for a service. It was my first and thus far only experience with getting something for nothing, because I did not feel used or conned by those in AA. I was able to approach the programme free from bias and with an open mind. They wanted nothing from me. What could I lose? I thank God for the wisdom of the early founders who knew so well that alcoholics disdain for being manipulated. And I was looking at some quotes this morning. I've had a good day actually. I went and helped my mum. She's 78 and has a computer for the first time, and she sent me an email tonight, so I'll tell her that I'm okay, but I am going to A&E. But some of the quotes around leadership, and I wrap around something to do with the fellowship, and then the quote from whoever it was about the subject of the day. What no president? Old-timers support newcomers. Newcomers support old-timers. Jim Rohn said, "A good objective of leadership is to help those who are doing poorly to do well, and to help those who are doing well to do even better." And I polish it off with same-size humans, veterans and greenhorns, making progress on one day at a time. So whether we're new to the fellowship or been around a while, we all help each other as best we can. And it works that way, because we take a lead when we need to support. And it can be the oldest old-timer in the room who needs a bit of support, or the person who's only had a few hours sober who needs support. We're all in the same boat, taking a lead for sobriety. And one other one. We, unique and authentic, not special and different. Peter Drucker, the management specialist, said, "No institution can possibly survive if it needs geniuses to lead it. It must be organised in such a way as to be able to get along under a leadership of average human beings. Real people living and making spiritual and emotional progress are in fellowship." And that last bit was me. So we are unique and authentic, but we're not special and different, and we're probably average to okay on any given day. So the gift is that we can rub along together, and nobody needs to be special to be leader, because there aren't any, not in the old sense of the words. Anyway, I've run out of time, and as I say at the end of these videos, to acceptance of now, acceptance of the now, the Serenity prayer helps me when I don't know what's right for me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is for me always just for today. Addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect all those years, and never so, no matter what I was doing. I was just the same as everybody else, trying to make life work, with one extra malady maybe at the time, and that was a an addiction to alcohol. And I don't know when I crossed the line and became an addict. And I feel like sometimes it must have been the first one where it changed my feelings. So why do I do these videos? Just to share experience, strength and hope about what it's like to be in recovery, to keep on going one day at a time, and not to get back in the malady, back in the problem of drink itself. So what helps me most is going to the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, there is nobody speaking for it, it is just a fellowship, and the preamble which is shared at every meeting gives the clue to what it's all about. And here it is. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So really what I'm doing in these videos is sharing my experience, strength and hope of what the fellowship does for me on a daily basis. And it does keep me in a place of sobriety. And the primary tradition which is implicit in this is anybody can join AA if they have a desire not to drink just for today. And that's it. That's the joining requirement, just a desire not to drink a day at a time. And what the fellowship gives me is a 12-step action program to help me understand how to be open, willing and honest to make changes in my attitude and behaviour. So simply it's about changing my attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. And the 12 steps of action are not just 12 steps to know, action steps to make life work a little bit better on a daily basis. And in this book here, which is called Daily Reflections, each month is devoted really to one of the 12 steps. So we're in February, last day of the month, step 2, came to believe a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And sanity, however what I seem to be living all those years, 35, as a drinker, probably doing things to please other people and to make life look right rather than be right. And I don't think for a moment, I don't feel for a moment I've actually wasted any time whatsoever. Maybe I needed all of those 35 years to understand I need to follow my destiny, whatever that might be, without drink inside me. And if I don't have a drink inside me, I have more choice in each day to make better decisions and to ask and include others in my decision-making process. I don't live in isolation, and that's where drink took me. So, yes, where do I want to start? I'll start with the daily reflections for today. And it says, the 28th of February, it says, what no president? When told that our society has no president having authority to govern it, no treasurer who can compel the payment of any dues, our friends gasp and exclaim, this simply cannot be. When I finally made my way to AA, I could not believe there was no treasurer to compel the payment of dues. I could not imagine an organisation that didn't require monetary contributions in return for a service. It was my first and thus far only experience with getting something for nothing. Because I did not feel used or conned by those in AA, I was able to approach the programme free from bias and with an open mind. They wanted nothing from me. What could I lose? I thank God for the wisdom of the early founders who knew so well the alcoholic's disdain for being manipulated. And that's true, because most of our lives we were spending our time manipulating our outlook to stop us from drinking and stop us probably from progressing in a way which is more healthy for us. And this thing of, there are no dues or fees for AA membership is so important. It is self-supporting through contributions made by people who go to meetings. And you don't have to put any money in the hat, as it were. And why should you? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a fellowship where people try to keep well and just pay the rent for the room they're using and for the tea and coffee which is consumed. And if there's anything extra, it goes into buying literature and stuff like that, just simple things. And I was a skeptic all the way through, so no dues or fees. There you go. And in this book, as Bill sees it, which I refer to quite a lot, there's a daily reading in this, and page 40, material achievement. No member of AA wants to deprecate material achievement, nor do we enter into a debate with many who cling to the belief that to satisfy our basic natural desires is the main object of life. But we are sure no class of people in the world ever made a worse mess of trying to live by this formula than alcoholics. We demanded more than our fair share of security, prestige and romance. When we seemed to be succeeding, we drank to dream still greater dreams. When we were frustrated, even in part, we drank for oblivion. In all these strivings, so many of them well-intentioned, our crippling handicap was our lack of humility. We lacked the perspective to see that character building and spiritual values had to come first, and that the material satisfactions were simply byproducts and not the chief aims of life. So it's really saying, without any equivocation, that the program is a spiritual program, and that what is spiritual? You know, what is spiritual? And I'm going to a meeting at lunchtime, and we share about the spiritual experience and what it might be. And actually, it's whatever your spiritual experience is, and it's in this book, Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book. And at the back it has an appendix 2 called the spiritual experience, which I'll read if I've got time. And it says here, the terms spiritual experience and spiritual awakening are used many times in this book. Upon careful reading, shows that the personality change sufficient to bring about recovery from alcoholism has manifested itself amongst us in many different forms. Yet it is true that our first printing gave many readers the impression that these personality changes or religious experiences must be in the nature of a sudden and spectacular upheaval. Happily for everyone, this conclusion is erroneous. In the first few chapters, a number of sudden revolutionary changes are described. Though it was not our intention to create such an impression, many alcoholics have nevertheless concluded that in order to recover, they must acquire an immediate and overwhelming God consciousness, followed at once by a vast change in feeling and outlook. That wasn't for me. Among our rapidly growing membership of thousands of alcoholics, such transformations, though frequent, are by no means the rule. Most of our experience is what the psychologist William James calls the educational variety, because they develop slowly over a period of time. Quite often friends of the newcomer are aware of the difference long before he is himself, and true of me too. My family saw the difference before I did. He finally realizes that he has undergone a profound alteration in his reaction to life, that such a change could hardly have been brought about by himself alone. Same for me. With few exceptions, our members find that they have tapped an unsuspected inner resource, which they presently identify with their own conception of a power greater than themselves. Most of us think this awareness of a power greater than ourselves is the essence of spiritual experience. Our more religious members call it God consciousness. Most emphatically, we wish to say that any alcoholic capable of honestly facing his problems in the light of our experience can recover, provided he does not close his mind to all spiritual concepts. He can only be defeated by an attitude of intolerance and belligerent denial. We find that no one need have difficulty with the spirituality of the program. Willingness, honesty and open-mindedness are essentials of recovery, but these are indispensable. And it goes on to say, there is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. Herbert Spencer. And I've nearly run out of time on this video. So that spiritual experience for me, to be open, honest and willing to see what can be in this one day. Spiritual is right here, right now. It's a gift everybody has, to see reality as it is, if only we could take away those denials and filters, and those resentments. So, what do I say at the end of these videos often? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, just one day at a time. Hello and good evening. Don in London. All about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And it feels like it's been a long day for me. I've been to 2 AA meetings, and I've been to see my mother, and I was up very early. I got up about 5, and when I switched the news on this morning, they were talking about an earthquake across most of England, which was only for 10 seconds and happened in the early hours of the morning, around about 1 AM. And of course I didn't feel it, and I didn't see it. So I'm glad I didn't, in many ways, because I might have wondered what to do next. And the answer would have been just go back to sleep, I suspect, because when there's no obvious sign of something. But when I was cycling home tonight, and I go up and down the Fulham Road, down to Fulham Broadway, where one of my AA meetings is, I noticed there are cracks in the road, and they weren't there yesterday, so it was a significant shift in the earth. And I guess the earth moved for quite a few people last night. Not for me. And I don't know, it's just been a very strange day. I've got to say thank you for some emails I've had about what I say helps on these videos, and that I intend to continue doing them for as long as I have the strength and something to say, and something to share about the daily readings from AA. It's been good. I didn't speak at the meeting I went to at lunchtime. I went to Eaton Square, and it was a very good share from an Antipodean, a gentleman from Australia. That's as much as I can say about that share. But it made me think and made me understand that the more we live it with an honest heart, open, honest and willing, the better life can be. And I had a dilemma this lunchtime. I wondered what to say to the person who organised the alternative recovery meeting I went to last night. And in the end I said, well, you know, really, it's not for me. And they thought, well, it's not for him. And they told me so tonight at another meeting where we both ended up. Not by intention, we just happened to go to the same meeting again tonight. And they were pleased, I think, that I said it wasn't for me, because it backed up what they thought. So, open, honest, willing sharing and debate always helps. And I've got friends around the globe, a lot of trouble and troubled times where people have died. And it's very hard often to know what to say in those circumstances. And just saying I don't know what to say can be a good starting point. And for tragedy there is only one answer, and that's to deal with it as it manifests and try not to suppress it too much, although some of the time we do need to be strong for other people and share as best we can. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the daily reflections for tomorrow, the last day of the month, February. Daily reflections AA for AA members, and it says, for February 28th, what? No president? When told that our society has no president having authority to govern it, no treasurer who can compel the payment of any dues, our friends gasp and exclaim they simply can't be. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 132. And it goes on to say, when I finally made my way to AA, I could not believe that there was no treasurer to compel the payment of dues. I could not imagine an organisation that didn't require monetary contributions in return for a service. It was my first and thus far only experience with getting something for nothing, because I did not feel used or conned by those in AA. I was able to approach the programme free from bias and with an open mind. They wanted nothing from me. What could I lose? I thank God for the wisdom of the early founders who knew so well the alcoholic's disdain for being manipulated. And you know, that's very close to my heart, because I know when I was in rehab, I was manipulated, and people or counsellors were trying to control and get something out of me which wasn't there, and that was very hard to deal with. But when I was in rehab, the saving grace for me was that I was able to go to as many meetings as I could sign up for, and that would be one every evening, just to escape the awfulness of the counsellors and their regime. And maybe it just didn't work for me. I know when I had a psych assessment afterwards, they said it just made you raging mad, not mad, but just raging mad, and very upset with how you were treated. So I'm always wary of how to approach things, and the good news in AA is we get our choices back. We get to choose how we want to be and how we want to live. And it was very good to hear somebody tonight just say, what I've learned is how to be profoundly ordinary. And for me, profoundly ordinary is the actual living of spiritual. Spiritual is not out of the ordinary. It's ordinary life lived openly with honesty and being willing to see what's happening and how to engage in it. As Bill sees it for tomorrow, or rather, as Bill sees it, page 86, Room for Improvement. We have come to believe that AA's recovery steps and traditions represent the approximate truths which we need for our particular purpose. The more we practice them, the more we like them. So there is little doubt that AA principles will continue to be advocated in the form they stand now. In our basics, if our basics are so firmly fixed as all of this, then where is there left to change or to improve? The answer that will immediately occur to us. While we need not alter our truths, we can surely improve their application to ourselves, to AA as a whole, and to our relations with the world around us. We can constantly step up the practice of these principles in all our affairs. So the basic principles are open, honest and willing. The tradition of why we go to AA meetings is simple, to keep sobriety going one day at a time, and that's the only qualification for being in AA. And listening to this speaker tonight, they were talking about it was important for them to get a sponsor and do 90 meetings in 90 days. And I shared back, actually, that not only did I need 90 meetings in 90 days, I need an awful lot of AA to keep me on a sober path. And the reason why it's important for me, I spent 20 or 30 years doing things because it looked right. And by the time I got to AA, I was so broken, I needed a bit of intensive care. And, you know, if we had a physical malady, like a broken leg, or we've been hit by a truck or something like that, we would be in intensive care. And the same applies to our emotional and spiritual being. If we've been plundered and to a great extent exploited, then sometimes we do need respite. And as I said, I needed intensive care because my life depended on it. And AA gave me a way of looking at the world which was far better than what I had before. It hasn't made me rich or wealthy, it's kept me poor materially, but emotionally, spiritually and physically I'm the best I can be on a daily basis. Coming to this one, 24 hours a day by Hazelden for the 28th. We should be free from alcohol for good. It's out of our hands and then in the hands of God, so we don't need to worry about it or even think about it anymore. But if we haven't done this honestly and fully, the chances are that it will become our problem again. Since we don't trust God to take care of the problem for us, we reach out and take the problem back to ourselves. Then it's our problem again, and we're in the same old mess we were before. We're helpless again and we drink. Do I trust God to take care of the problem now? And what I do trust is my understanding of God, which is God is truth. And what I know is when I'm unhappy with the world, I'm not playing to my strengths, but they are naturally inclined. So caught in the grip and trying to make it work, when I don't really understand the basics, can put me back to square one. So I always keep close and stick with my AA fellowship. More tomorrow. Good evening, Don in London, all about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supported through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that takes almost a minute to say. DonInLondon, it's 28th of February, and the time is 9:50 in the evening. And I've been to two meetings of AA today. One in the Hop Gardens, which is just off Trafalgar Square, and it was a Step 5 meeting. And this evening at Radnor Walk, which was a Step 9 meeting. And that might sound like gobbledygook to anybody who's not in the fellowship, but Step 5 and Step 9 are part of the 12-step program of recovery that any alcoholic can be party to if they come into the fellowship. And as it says there, no dues or fees. And some of the other good news is that whilst I don't speak for AA, I can speak for myself. I got my choices back in recovery to live a life quite different from the one I had before. And I'm glad about that. I'm glad I'm not the person I used to be, because I used to drink so much to blot out what the world felt like, because I didn't feel right in the world. And these days I feel right about myself, and I understand the world as it is, just now, just for today, and what I may do and what I may not do. And Step 5, for those who don't know, it says here, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. And that is following a searching moral inventory which we do on paper. We write everything down over the years that we have done, which impacts in a moral way to the good or bad of us. And it's really about the 7 deadly vices and the 7 virtues. So, as we have the good side and the dark side of us, if you like, as nature gave us, it seems like we are full of polemics or opposites, good and bad, joyful and sad, all those sorts of things. Then our program is really about getting our feelings right on a daily basis, so we can see the world as it is and not through the bottom of a glass. And Step 9 tonight was made about making direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So, highly moralistic it seems, but in truth all it's about, and the truth of it, all AA is about, is finding that elusive truth, the truth of ourselves and our situation, and what we may do on a daily basis to improve our well-being. And as it says in AA, and if it were a religious organisation, our spiritual well-being. And the good news is, it's not religious, and it's not allied to any sect or cult, and it's not about dogma, and it's not about a secret society. It's probably one of the most open fellowships you can ever find if you want to be in it, because it just gives you the freedom of being yourself on a daily basis. So today with the Hop Garden there were 1 or 2 newcomers, and when you walk into a meeting which is a step meeting, talking about something halfway through a revolution in most people's lives, which is to get ourselves back on track and without a drink inside us, it can seem a very strange place with all sorts of ideas and language that we just don't understand. But the most important part of my meeting at Hop Garden was just towards the end when I spoke and said, you know, when I first got to AA, my first meeting, I saw my neighbours to the right of me, the people I knew from my health club to the left of me, and the people I knew from the Chelsea Arts Club in front of me, and none of them drank, and I was most surprised and mortified to find one of my mother's next door neighbours there on my right saying, I wondered when you were going to get here. So it can be very daunting, and my final words were really saying, if you can find an honest path of being on a daily basis, then what more could one ask for? Because then we know and understand what is going on. And the thing about Step 9 tonight, which is to make amends where it won't hurt or injure others, and at the same time, as we're going through the steps of AA, or the Living Life as It Is program, we are making a living amends to ourselves for all the upsets that we have had along the way, and recognising our part in upsetting other people and the wrongs we may have done. So I've had a good dose of AA today, and I mean that in the most sincere way, that it's been good. to be in the company of people who don't judge me for my sobriety or my insobriety. They are there to help me find a way to be supportive, which is what we're all about. A fellowship of support to stay sober one day only. And of course we have all the books and bits and pieces to help. So my AA Daily really is about sharing what it says in the daily readings for tomorrow. And it's February the 29th tomorrow. This book, Daily Reflections for the 29th of February, a rare event every 4 years I think. One AA miracle. Save for a few brief moments of temptation, the thought of drink has never returned, and at such times a great revulsion has risen up in him. Seemingly he could not drink even if he would. God had restored his sanity. That comes from AA's big book, page 57. It goes on to say, the word God was frightening to me when I first saw it associated with AA's 12 steps. Having tried all the means I could to stop drinking, I found that it was not possible for me to sustain that desire over a period of time. Yet, how could I believe in God that had allowed me to sink to the deep of despair that engulfed me, whether drinking or dry? The answer was in finally admitting that it might be possible for me to know the mercy of a power greater than myself, who could grant me the sobriety contingent on my willingness to come to believe. By finally admitting that I was one among many, and by following the example of my sponsor and other AA members in practicing faith I did not have, my life has been given meaning, direction and purpose. And for me, the higher power is very, very simple. It's the power of a group of people. It's like if you're part of a team and you're all pulling in the same direction, well, we can move mountains. At least we think we can. But in AA, all we want to do on a daily basis is not drink alcohol. And, my understanding of God is truth. God is truth to me. Gandhi's version and my version. But there are 6.5 billion definitions of God, and they're all correct for every living person who has an idea in their head. Anyway, coming on to As Bill Sees It. And that's me trying not to be prejudiced about anybody else's thoughts or beliefs. Room for improvement. Nope. Start again. Keystone of the Arch, page 87. Faced with alcoholic destruction, we became open-minded on spiritual matters in this respect. In this respect, alcohol was a great persuader. It finally beat us into a state of reasonableness. We had to quit playing God. It didn't work. It didn't work. We decided that hereafter, in this drama of life, God was going to be our director. He would be the principal we, his agents. Most good ideas are simple, and this concept was the keystone of the new triumphal arch through which we pass to freedom. And for me, that is about truth. God is truth. So, if I need to if I ask myself honestly, what do I need to do today? Not drink and get on with it. Then I think I'm on to a winner. Finally, and I've only got a minute left, so I'm not trying to rush this, the 24 Hours a Day book by Hazelden. And all these readings are available free on the internet. Just put AA Daily Readings into the search engine and you will find them. February 29th. Getting sober was a long and painful journey, but we can truthfully say it was worth it. We know now that all we've been through led us to AA and was part of our spiritual journey. We found in AA what we have been vainly seeking in the bottle. We've learned that our journey goes on as we continue to deal with our shortcomings and the human problems everybody must face. And when we reach a crossroads or a roadblock, we know that our higher power will come to our aid in making the right choices and surmounting all obstacles. Do I turn to my higher power to sustain me as I continue the spiritual journey that brought me into AA? And the answer is absolutely, because it's one day at a time with the best of help from many people.